Deep in the seemingly impenetrable jungle of Guatemala, a place where nature has reclaimed history for centuries, a groundbreaking discovery is rewriting the very first chapter of Maya civilization. Using advanced laser mapping technology that peels back the forest floor, archaeologists discovered something extraordinary. Not one lost city, not two, but three ancient cities, forming a perfect urban triangle, a coordinated network of power, faith, and engineering that has remained completely off the radar until now. And let's be clear, this isn't a myth or a legend. It's fresh, hard data from the Peru Project, a long-term archaeological survey that has been meticulously mapping over 1,200 square kilometers of this remote region since 2009. This monumental effort is a collaboration with Slovak researchers from Comenius University in Bratislava, combining cutting-edge technology with old-school grit. The first point of the triangle is City 1, Los Abuelos, which translates to the grandparents. The name is fitting. It's ancient. We're talking 800 to 500 BCE, placing it squarely in the middle pre-classic period, long before the famous Maya city-states of the classic era reached their zenith. At its spiritual and physical core rises a magnificent 108-foot pyramid. This wasn't just a stone monument, it was a beacon. Excavations reveal it was once painted in a brilliant sacred red, accented with bands of stark white and deep symbolic black. Imagine trekking for days through the dense, humid green, and then, suddenly, seeing that explosion of color pop through the canopy. It would have been a deeply spiritual, awe-inspiring sight. Nearby, as if guarding the sacred precinct, archaeologists found two ancestral stone statues, a seated couple acting like time capsules, staring you down from 3 millennia away. They are the city's namesakes, the grandparents watching over their descendants. Next, we move to City 2, Petnal, the political powerhouse of the triangle. If Los Abuelos was the soul, Petnal was the mind. This was the center of governance. Think sprawling council halls where the city's elite made decisions that shaped thousands of lives, and vast public squares designed for ceremony and civic engagement. This is where power was performed and displayed for all to see. The buildings were dressed with elaborate, colorful murals that turned politics into public theater, telling stories of rulers, gods, and cosmic events. These weren't just decorations. They were propaganda, reinforcing the legitimacy of the ruling class. The third point of the triangle is City 3, Cambrial, the engineer's dream and the logistical hub. Here, the Maya demonstrated their mastery over their environment. A network of 57-meter-long stucco-lined canals slices through the site. This sophisticated system was used for drainage during the intense rainy season, for transporting goods, and likely for channeling sacred water for ritual purposes. They were moving water with precision long before other Maya infrastructure scaled up to this level. And at the heart of this engineered city, a clue to its cultural identity, a Barragan-type sculpture, a distinctive, round-bellied, and enigmatic figure. This style is typically tied to early traditions from the highlands, suggesting cultural exchange or migration. But finding it here shows how these people were anchoring a unique identity, blending influences while establishing their own distinct presence right here in the lowlands. Now connect the dots. These three cities don't just happen to be near each other. They form a deliberate, functional triangle, a mega-city spread across the landscape. You have the center of religion and ancestry at Los Abuelos, the seat of political power and administration at Petnal, and the hub of engineering and resource management at Cambrial. They were all synced by a network of raised roads, or sakbiab, and managed waterways, facilitating trade, pilgrimage, and communication. This interconnected network isn't just sophisticated urban planning, it's a world view carved directly into the jungle floor. And then there's the discovery that could shift our understanding of time itself, a massive E-group astronomical complex. These are special architectural arrangements used by the Maya to track celestial events. If the readings from this site hold, the sunrise alignments here may nudge us to rethink parts of the Maya calendar story, pushing back the timeline for when they developed their complex understanding of cosmology. It gives us a window into how these early skywatchers tracked time, how they scheduled ritual and agricultural cycles, and perhaps even how rulers used the cosmos to legitimize their political power. But here's the kicker. The true scale of what's hidden here is staggering. Out of 176 distinct archaeological sites identified by the Paru project so far, only about 20 have been even partially excavated. We are literally scratching the surface. That means the incredible map you're seeing, it's just the prologue to a story that has been waiting thousands of years to be told. Somewhere in the vast wilderness north of the famous Huachatún, the city of Los Abuelos keeps watch, while the jungle tenaciously keeps its secrets. The triangle is real. The clocks are older than we thought, and the story of the ancient Maya just got a brand new first chapter. Stick around, because chapter 2 is still buried under the leaves, waiting to be discovered. In the vast, silent theater of the Egyptian desert, some stories are not written in stone, but sealed within it. For a century, since the world held its breath as Howard Carter unsealed the tomb of King Tutankhamun in 1922, the Valley of the Kings has been the heart of modern archaeology. That discovery set a new benchmark, a promise of untold history waiting just beneath the sand. Yet as decades passed and the map of this royal necropolis filled in, one name remained stubbornly absent. A ghost on the dynastic checklist. One pharaoh of Egypt's golden age, the mighty 18th dynasty, who refused to be found. For 103 years, the search continued. Then, in the quiet of the Theban hills, the wait was over. A team of archaeologists, armed with patience and technology, finally stood before a door that had not been opened for 3.5 millennia. They finally opened the door. This is the tomb of Thutmose II, ruler of the 18th dynasty from approximately 1493 to 1479 BCE. He was a quiet link in a chain of titans, husband to the formidable Hatshepsut, who would later rule as pharaoh in her own right. Father to the great conqueror Thutmose III, often called the Napoleon of Egypt. Thutmose II's reign was a brief, pivotal moment, a bridge between two of the most powerful figures in ancient history. To understand his significance, we must understand his time. The 18th dynasty wasn't just a line of kings, it was a force of nature. Rising from the ashes of foreign occupation, these pharaohs forged an empire that stretched from the deep south of Nubia to the fertile lands of the Near East. This was an era of unprecedented wealth, military might, and cultural explosion. It was an age of empire building, where tribute flowed from conquered lands, funding monumental construction projects. An age of art blooming, where workshops produced masterpieces of sculpture, painting, and decorative arts that still define our image of ancient Egypt. And it was an age of innovation cranking, where new ideas in religion, architecture, and statecraft reshaped the world. The Valley of the Kings became their eternal address, a statement of power and a promise of immortality. So who was Thutmose II, the man at the center of this dynastic drama? His reign was short, lasting perhaps only 14 years. He ascended the throne as a young man, the son of Thutmose I and a minor wife, which made his marriage to his half-sister, the pure-blooded royal princess Hatshepsut, a crucial act of political consolidation. Historical records of his rule are sparse. We know of a military campaign in Nubia to quell a rebellion and another expedition against nomads in the Sinai. But his legacy is largely defined by what came after him. His early death left a young son, Thutmose III, as heir. This created a power vacuum that his ambitious and capable wife, Hatshepsut, would step in to fill, first as regent and then as pharaoh. For centuries, scholars have debated the health of Thutmose II, with analysis of his known mummy suggesting a possible skin disease and a frail constitution. His brief time on the throne was a critical yet fragile moment in the dynasty's story. Finding his tomb became an obsession that spanned generations of Egyptologists. The long search began in the era of picks, shovels, and intuition. Early explorers, following textual clues and the logic of the landscape, uncovered tomb after tomb. But Thutmose II remained elusive. As the 20th century progressed, the hunt became systematic. The valley was meticulously gridded, every square meter a potential clue. Then came the technological revolution. Ground-penetrating radar sent electromagnetic pulses deep into the bedrock, searching for voids, hidden chambers and corridors. Micro-drones, small enough to navigate tight crevices, offered new perspectives. And LiDAR technology created precise 3D point cloud maps of the terrain, revealing subtle depressions and unnatural-looking mounds of debris that were invisible to the naked eye. But why did Thutmose II remain hidden for so long? Because the Valley of the Kings is a master of concealment. It is a living landscape, shaped by powerful natural forces. For millennia, rare but violent flash floods have torn through these wadis, carrying thousands of tons of rock and sediment. These floods bury entrances under meters of debris, creating a false floor that hides what lies beneath. Shifting sands and rockfalls erase ancient pathways. The original builders were experts in camouflage. They deliberately tucked doorways behind inconspicuous bedrock angles, then sealed them under piles of rubble that looked entirely natural. Looters in antiquity and even early archaeologists went after what they could see. This one left almost no trace. It was hidden not just by human design, but by the valley itself. The breakthrough came from a modern Egyptian mission, led by Dr. Muhammad Ismail Khaled. Their work was not a frantic treasure hunt, but a slow, methodical process of elimination. They focused on an area near other 18th dynasty tombs, a location previously overlooked or deemed unremarkable. Combining historical analysis with the latest survey data, they identified a promising anomaly. The excavation was painstaking. Every layer of debris was documented and removed, revealing not a natural formation, but the top of a man-made shaft. As they dug deeper, the clean lines of a cut doorway emerged from the bedrock. The announcement was made with scholarly precision, confirming the find only after the initial clearing revealed an undisturbed context. It was a triumph of persistence. Inside, the tomb's architecture tells its own story. The layout is characteristic of the mid-18th dynasty, though simpler than the grand tombs of later pharaohs. It features a steep descending corridor leading to a single, undecorated antechamber and a burial chamber. The walls are rough-hewn, lacking the elaborate painted reliefs seen in the tombs of his father or son. This suggests a rushed construction, perhaps due to the king's unexpectedly early death. The tomb was functional, not ostentatious, designed to protect the pharaoh's journey to the afterlife, not to broadcast his earthly achievements. And inside, the air tasted of untouched time. The funerary furniture waited exactly where it was placed over 3,400 years ago. These are not just objects, they are design choices frozen in time, a snapshot of royal taste from a specific moment in history. There are wooden chests with gilded edges, their contents still sealed within. Elegant bed frames resting on feet carved in the shape of lions, symbols of protection. Graceful headrests, curved for a royal neck, promising eternal rest. And low ritual tables, their surfaces still stained by the sacred oils and perfumes used in the final ceremonies. Each piece, from the joinery of the wood to the inlay of the ivory, is a testament to the skill of New Kingdom artisans. So, what does this discovery change? For Egyptology, it is monumental. Muhammad Ismail Khaled's announcement didn't just confirm a find, It closed a century-long chapter of exploration. With the identification of Thutmose II's tomb, the last missing royal of the 18th dynasty has a known resting place. The roster is now complete. Tutankhamun, Hatshepsut, Thutmose III, Akhenaten, and now the quiet pharaoh who bridged two of the dynasty's most famous reigns. This discovery provides a vital new data point for understanding royal funerary practices, chronology, and the very logistics of constructing a tomb for a king who died prematurely. It fills a critical gap in our knowledge. And the Valley of the Kings? It proves, once again, why it is one of the most important archaeological sites on Earth. It is a landscape that preserves history with an unforgiving patience. It reminds us that what matters is not just where the pharaohs were buried, but where the evidence of their world endures. After 300-400 years of silence and a 103-year modern hunt, the past didn't vanish. It waited, patiently, for the right knock on the right door. Deep within the emerald labyrinth of the Guatemalan jungle, shrouded by centuries of relentless growth, lies the ancient Maya metropolis of Tikal. Here, amidst the ghosts of a fallen civilization, the Earth has surrendered a secret. It's a secret that doesn't just add a footnote to history. It forces us to tear out a page and start again. An altar, unearthed from the suffocating soil, has just changed everything I thought I knew about the dynamics of ancient power in the Americas. This single object is a Rosetta Stone of conquest and cultural collision. It took a dedicated team of archaeologists a grueling year and a half of painstaking excavation, meticulous analysis, and digital reconstruction to fully comprehend its message. And what they found is a story that is raw, deeply political, and unflinchingly brutal. It's a drama that played out over 1,600 years ago, but its echoes resonate with a chilling familiarity. The first clues are on the surface. 4 painted panels, their colors still astonishingly vibrant, stare back from the past. The dominant pigment is a deep, earthy red, the color of blood and of life. It is accented with a stark, definitive black, used for outlines and shadows, giving the figures a powerful, graphic quality. And finally, a brilliant, sacred yellow, reserved for the most important details. These colors form an image that is both mesmerizing and deeply unsettling. The central figure is immediately recognizable to experts, but not as a local deity. It wears a prominent nose bar, a symbol of elite status from a distant land. It is crowned with an elaborate feathered headdress, a universal sign of power, but rendered in a style that is subtly, yet distinctly, alien to Tikal. And then, the most telling feature, that distinctive, goggle-eyed, fanged mouthpiece. This is no Maya god. This is the face of the great storm god of central Mexico. This is pure Teotihuacan iconography, a visual language born hundreds of miles away, planted here in the heart of a Maya city. It's like finding a Roman eagle standard in the middle of ancient Persia. It demands an explanation, but the story this altar tells goes deeper than its painted surface. The true horror and the true meaning was found inside. Within the altar's core, archaeologists discovered the carefully placed burial of a child, interred in a seated position, and nearby, another burial, an adult, laid to rest with a weapon. Not just any weapon, but a dart point made of brilliant green obsidian. This material, this close-up green obsidian, is another critical clue. It's a geological signature, sourced exclusively from the volcanic mountains of central Mexico, the homeland of Teotihuacan. It was their trademark, the material of their military might. As the excavation continued, the grim tally grew. The remains of 3 children in total, all under the age of 4, were found associated with this single small structure. Lead archaeologist Lorena Paez and her team concluded the evidence was undeniable. This altar was not just a monument, it was a stage for ritual sacrifice, and its primary victims were children. To understand why, we have to zoom out. The year is somewhere in the late 300s AD. Tikal is a dominant Maya supercity, a sprawling hub of commerce, art, and military power, home to tens of thousands. But over 1,000 kilometers to the west, across mountains and unforgiving territory, lies Teotihuacan. It is not just a city, it is the hemisphere's undisputed megapolis, a colossus of over 100,000 people, an empire whose influence radiates across Mesoamerica. And in the year 378 AD, something dramatic happens. Glyphic records tell us that a foreign general, Siaj Kaak, or Fire is Born, arrives at Tikal. On that very day, Tikal's king dies. A new ruler, a child with ties to Teotihuacan, is installed. Teotihuacan storms the board, removes Tikal's king, and installs a puppet. Scholars from Brown University don't mince words. They call this event a decapitation of a kingdom. It was a swift, brutal, and total regime change, orchestrated from afar. For decades, this was a theory based on inscriptions. But then, modern technology provided the smoking gun. LiDAR scans, peeling back the jungle floor, revealed a stunning architectural echo. A scaled-down but precise replica of Teotihuacan's great citadel, built right beside Tikal's sacred core. It was an embassy, a military garrison, an imperial branch office, all in one. This context makes the altar's construction even more significant. The artistic technique, the use of plaster, the specific pigments, the very way the brush was held, it all suggests a Teotihuacan-trained artisan, likely working on site in Tikal, built it. This wasn't Maya hands adopting a new style, it was a foreign style, imposed. There's a chilling phrase that appears in Maya texts describing events like this, Och Ikak, which translates to the fire enters. It's a euphemism for conquest, for the violent destruction of a ruling dynasty and the establishment of a new order. Looking at this altar, with its foreign god, its imported weapons, and the remains of sacrificed children, that's exactly what this feels like. This is the physical evidence of fire entering Tikal. But the story has one final, astonishing twist. For nearly 2 centuries, this foreign enclave, this Teotihuacan neighborhood, thrived. Then, sometime between AD 550 and 645, as the distant empire of Teotihuacan began to crumble and its influence waned, the Maya of Tikal did something extraordinary. They systematically and intentionally buried the altar and all the surrounding Teotihuacan-style buildings, and they never reused them. This was the heart of their city, prime real estate, yet it was deliberately decommissioned, abandoned, and left alone for over 1,000 years. It was treated almost like a radioactive zone, a place so tainted by its history that it had to be erased from the living city. When empires collide, the battle is not just fought with weapons. It is fought with ideas, with art, with architecture. And culture is the evidence left behind on the battlefield. More than 1,000 years before Hernán Cortés and his conquistadors toppled the Aztec capital, Teotihuacan had already written the playbook for imperial conquest in the Americas, right here in Tikal. The strategy is timeless. Invade the territory, replace the leadership, and display your power through overwhelming art, through terrifying ritual, and through fear. This altar, then, isn't just an archaeological object. It's a confession, written in stone and plaster. It's the testimony of a conquered people and the proclamation of a conquering empire. It is a story painted in blood red, outlined in the stark black of foreign power, and highlighted in a brilliant, terrible yellow. A story about the enduring price of conquest. For centuries, the story of Pompeii has been a simple, haunting tale. A story of a city frozen in time, caught unawares by a mountain's fury. We've pictured its people, their final moments preserved in plaster casts, their lungs filled with the suffocating ash of Mount Vesuvius. It's a powerful image, one that has defined our understanding of this legendary tragedy. But this story, the one we all think we know, is incomplete. Because Mount Vesuvius didn't just smother Pompeii in ash. It shook the city to pieces. Long before the lethal clouds of gas and ash descended, a more immediate and brutal force was at work. A relentless series of earthquakes, born from the same subterranean pressure cooker, tore through the city's foundations, turning homes into tombs and streets into death traps. The very ground beneath their feet became the enemy. Now, new excavations and analyses reported in 2024 are forcing us to confront this violent reality. The latest finds are not just adding details to the old narrative. They are fundamentally rewriting the timeline of death. Archaeologists are uncovering victims who never had the chance to suffocate. They were crushed where they lived, where they hid, where they prayed. This is a seismic shift in our understanding, moving the story from a passive, atmospheric death by suffocation to a violent, structural one. We are now looking at evidence of earthquakes strong enough to snap thick stone walls as if they were twigs, to shatter heavy wooden beams that had supported roofs for generations, and to extinguish lives in an instant of brutal, concussive force. The terror of Pompeii began not with a cloud, but with a convulsion. And to understand this new chapter, we must look past the ash and into the homes where people lived their final, vibrant hours. Inside one lavish villa, we find a clue to the city's spiritual life, frozen on the walls. Here, a three-wall masterpiece explodes with color and movement, the world-renowned Dionysian Mysteries frieze. This isn't just decoration, it's a theological document, a window into a hidden world of belief and ritual that pulsed at the heart of Roman society. Look closely. Horned satyrs press forward, their faces etched with wild energy, flutes at their lips, their hypnotic music filling the sacred space. Wine, the gift of the god Dionysus himself, is sloshing, promising a release from the mundane. And all around, dancers tilt their heads back, surrendering to a state of pure ecstasy. But make no mistake, these weren't merely party scenes. This room was not a banquet hall for casual entertainment. They were depictions of secret initiations into one of the ancient world's most potent mystery cults. The cult of Dionysus, known to the Romans as Bacchus, promised its followers a profound transformation, a chance to transcend the limits of the self. This was achieved through ritual dance, through hypnotic music that could alter consciousness, and through the carefully managed use of intoxication. In this heightened state, initiates blurred the line between self and God to taste a moment of divine frenzy and experience the Greeks called enthusiasmos, to be filled with the God. That secrecy was paramount. These were not public festivals. The rites were whispered about, often conducted at night, away from the judging eyes of Roman officialdom, which viewed such ecstatic cults with deep suspicion. Their symbols were guarded, their meanings revealed only to the initiated, and the identities of those who participated were often hidden, creating a sacred community bound by shared secret knowledge. This villa was a place of profound spiritual importance, a world away from the bustling streets outside. And just rooms away from this theater of the gods, another recent discovery offers a different kind of spiritual insight. A newly uncovered 8-square-meter shrine glows with an almost impossible color, a rare and expensive pigment known as Pompeian blue. This color alone was a statement of wealth and devotion, a luxury for the gods, and painted upon its brilliant walls are the Horae, the divine personifications of the four seasons. Spring with her flowers, summer with her grain, autumn with her grapes, and winter cloaked in waiting. Here, in this small, sacred space, they are circling time itself, like a celestial clock the Roman family could see and touch, a daily reminder of the cycles of life, death, and rebirth. The artifacts left behind tell a story of devotion, On the floor and shelves, archaeologists found 15 amphorae, vessels for wine and oil offered to the gods. They found 2 elegant bronze jugs, likely used for pouring libations, and 2 bronze lamps, whose flames would have cast a flickering, divine light upon the blue walls. This was both a ritual kit for communicating with the divine and a household spiritual lifeline, a place of private faith. And nearby, in other rooms, the eruption preserved something even more intimate. The impressions left in the volcanic material freeze a home in mid-breath, capturing the ghosts of everyday objects. We can see the exact space occupied by a wooden bed, where someone slept and dreamed. We see the outline of a simple stool, pulled up to a table or a hearth. We can trace the shape of a chest, which once held a family's linens or treasures. And most poignantly, the void left by a marble-topped table, crowned by the ghostly shape of a bronze candlestick. These are not just objects, they are the silent witnesses to a life interrupted. In this same excavation area, archaeologists also uncovered an October surprise, a house adorned with explicit erotic frescoes, a discovery that speaks to a different aspect of Roman life. This was the kind of sophisticated, and to our eyes, shocking, art that wealthy Romans used to blend myth, desire, and social status. To have such art was to be worldly, educated, and unashamedly elite. And in another room, a more somber, intellectual mood prevails. Here, a fresco depicts the Greek tragedy of Phaedra and her stepson, Hippolytus. They stare across the painted space, locked in a moment of tragic choice and fatal passion. This was Greek myth, painted on a Roman wall, a sophisticated way to measure and debate Roman morals, and to decorate a home with stories of human appetites. All of this, the secret rites, the private shrines, the art, the furniture, paints a picture of a city teeming with life, faith, and culture, right up to the final moments. Then, the ground convulsed. And it is here that the new forensic evidence becomes so crucial. Teams of specialists are analyzing the skeletons found beneath the rubble, and they are telling a new story. They show crushed skeletons with unmistakable fracture patterns from collapsing roofs and walls, spines compressed by tons of falling masonry, ribs shattered by the impact of heavy beams, injuries consistent not with suffocation, but with being caught in a building collapse. These people were trapped, their fates sealed before the ash ever reached them. In one poignant case, a man and woman died in what appears to be a temporary bedroom, a storeroom they had fled to for safety. Their most valuable treasures were gathered close, a desperate attempt to flee with a life's worth of memories and wealth in their hands. The collapsing roof gave them no chance. And yet, beneath all of this destruction, another story of survival and rediscovery is unfolding. Secret tunnels, dug by early explorers and modern archaeologists, thread the buried city. Corridors leading to one of the greatest libraries of the ancient world. Here, thousands of Roman scrolls were not burned to ash, but carbonized by the intense heat of the eruption, preserving their texts within. Using artificial intelligence and particle accelerators, we are only now, after 2 millennia, learning to read these lost voices from the past. So when I look at Pompeii now, I don't just see a city buried in ash. The story is so much richer, so much more violent, and so much more human. I see the echo of music rising from sacred flutes, a sound of spiritual ecstasy. I see wine flashing in the lamplight, a sacrament in a hidden rite. I see brilliant blue walls measuring the eternal rhythm of the seasons, a city alive with belief and beauty. And I see the undeniable, brutal evidence of an earthquake, rewriting in stone and bone the story of how an entire city and the people who called it home truly met their end.
For generations, the story of Stonehenge has been etched in stone, a narrative we thought we understood. At its very heart lies a unique, solitary slab, the altar stone. For over a century, A central tenet of its story was its origin. Archaeologists, historians, and geologists were all in remarkable agreement. They believed with unwavering confidence that this 6-ton block of sandstone, like the smaller bluestones that surround it, was hauled from the Preseli Hills in Wales. It was a story of immense human effort, a testament to the will of our Neolithic ancestors, dragging these monoliths over 200 kilometers. But what if that foundational story, the very bedrock of our understanding, was wrong? What if the altar stone has been hiding a secret far more profound, a journey far more epic than we ever dared to imagine? Prepare to have your understanding of prehistoric Britain completely reshaped, because recent scientific analysis has exposed a monumental myth, revealing that the altar stone is not Welsh at all. This isn't just a minor correction in the historical record. It's a discovery that sends shockwaves through our perception of the Neolithic world, its people, and their astonishing capabilities. The truth, it turns out, lies not to the west in the mountains of Wales, but hundreds of kilometers in the opposite direction, to the far, far north. The bombshell landed in the pages of the prestigious journal Nature. A multidisciplinary team of scientists published a study that meticulously re-examined the altar stone's composition. This wasn't a casual observation, it was the culmination of years of painstaking work, applying cutting-edge analytical techniques to a puzzle that had been considered solved for decades. The team secured access to tiny, invaluable fragments of the stone, samples that held the key to unlocking its true origin story. Their mission was simple, yet audacious: to read the stone's elemental signature and trace it back to its geological birthplace. The science at the heart of this revelation is a field known as geochemistry. Think of it as a form of geological fingerprinting. Every rock formation on Earth has a unique chemical makeup, a specific recipe of major and minor elements, as well as trace elements and isotopic ratios, which are variations of elements with different numbers of neutrons. These signatures are formed over millions of years by specific geological processes, making them as unique as a human fingerprint. The challenge for the researchers was to create a detailed chemical profile of the altar stone, and then find a perfect match for it somewhere in the vast geological library of Great Britain. Using techniques like mass spectrometry, which measures the exact mass and abundance of different atoms, and X-ray fluorescence, which excites atoms to make them emit characteristic light, the team built an incredibly detailed profile. They focused on the concentration of specific elements, particularly barium and strontium, which can vary significantly between different sandstone formations. They compared this detailed fingerprint against a massive database of rock samples from across the country. For decades, the Welsh sandstone theory had been based on a visual match and a less precise petrographic analysis, essentially looking at thin slices of the rock under a microscope. But this new, deeper chemical analysis was about to tell a very different story. The first major finding was the altar stone. The team compared its signature to numerous potential sources in the old red sandstone formation that stretches from Wales across to the Anglo-Welsh border. None of them matched. The barium content, in particular, was far higher in the altar stone than in any of the Welsh samples. The long-held, cherished theory, the one that placed the stone's origin alongside the bluestones, was definitively ruled out. The altar stone was an outsider, a stranger among the stones of Stonehenge. So, if not from Wales, then from where? The search expanded, and the data pointed the team northwards. Incredibly, the chemical fingerprints from the two altar stone fragments found their perfect match in rocks from the Orcadian Basin. This vast geological region encompassing Orkney and the northeastern tip of mainland Scotland is over 700 kilometers away from Salisbury Plain. The data was unambiguous. The unique high barium signature, the specific ratios of other trace elements, it all pointed to a single, remote origin. The altar stone, the ceremonial heart of England's greatest prehistoric monument, was almost certainly quarried in Scotland. Let the scale of this sink in for a moment. This means a colossal 6-ton slab of sandstone was transported over 700 kilometers, 5,000 years ago, This wasn't a short overland drag. It was an epic, multi-stage logistical operation of staggering complexity. The journey would have been one of the most ambitious undertakings of its time, demanding immense resources, sophisticated knowledge, and incredible social organization. How on earth did they do it? The most plausible answer is that our Neolithic ancestors were masters of the waterways. The journey almost certainly began by sea. The 6-ton slab would have been carefully quarried, perhaps from an exposed coastal outcrop in Orkney. Then, a large coordinated team would have had to maneuver it onto a vessel. We can't be certain what these boats looked like, but they would have needed to be exceptionally robust, perhaps large, hide-covered currachs, or even sophisticated log boats capable of handling the treacherous waters of the North Sea. This wasn't a casual paddle. It was a perilous coastal voyage down the entire length of eastern Britain. This maritime leg of the journey would have required profound knowledge of tides, currents, and weather patterns. It would have been a seasonal effort, undertaken during the calmer summer months. The crew would have hugged the coastline, navigating from one headland to the next, likely pulling ashore each night. This implies a network of friendly communities along the coast, people willing to offer safe harbor, food, and perhaps even assistance. This wasn't a single, isolated crew battling the elements. It was a journey made possible by a web of social connections spanning hundreds of kilometers. After navigating the coast, the journey would have transitioned inland. The crew would have entered a river system like the Hampshire Avon, which flows near Stonehenge. Here, the 6-ton stone would have been transferred to a different type of craft, one designed for river navigation. From there, it would have been painstakingly hauled upstream, against the current, for the final leg of its journey. The last few kilometers from the river to the construction site on Salisbury Plain would have been overland, requiring immense manpower, using sledges, rollers, and ropes. Each stage of this journey, quarrying, loading, sailing, river transport, and the final overland haul, was a monumental challenge in its own right. The sheer logistics are mind-boggling. This was not the result of random luck or a simple brute force effort. It speaks to a society with sophisticated planning capabilities and clear leadership. Someone had to conceive of the project, identify the specific stone source in Orkney, and organize the vast workforce required. It implies the existence of craft specialists, expert quarrymen, boat builders, navigators, and rope makers. It suggests a social structure capable of commanding and coordinating the labor of hundreds, perhaps thousands of people over an extended period. This wasn't just about moving a rock, it was a statement of power, belief, and connection. This discovery fundamentally rewrites how we see Neolithic Britain. For too long, we have pictured a landscape of isolated tribes with limited contact and rudimentary technology. The journey of the altar stone shatters that image. It reveals a world that was interconnected, with long-distance social networks binding communities from the Northern Isles of Scotland to the plains of southern England. The movement of this stone was likely part of a wider system of exchange, a flow of ideas, materials, and influence across the island. It suggests that the people who built Stonehenge were not isolated. They were part of a dynamic, integrated, and surprisingly sophisticated world. The altar stone, once thought to be a relatively local import from Wales, now stands as a powerful symbol of this interconnectedness. Its journey from the far north makes Stonehenge not just a marvel of local engineering, but a truly national or even international monument for its time. It was a focal point, a destination that drew materials, people, and ideas from the furthest corners of the known world. The biggest twist in the story of Stonehenge isn't just about the origin of one stone. It's about the revelation of a vibrant, connected, and highly advanced Neolithic society whose ambition and reach we are only just beginning to comprehend. Stonehenge wasn't built in isolation. It was the spectacular heart of a far wider and far more fascinating world.
In the silent, inevitable process of decay, there is an established order. After death, the body's own enzymes begin to break it down from the inside out. The brain, an organ composed of roughly 80% water and a delicate balance of fats and proteins, should be the first to succumb. It is expected to liquefy within days, a process known as autolysis, leaving behind nothing but fluid in the cranial vault. This is a fundamental rule of forensic science, a cornerstone of our understanding of decomposition. So, how did archaeologists, sifting through the remnants of millennia, find not one, not a dozen, but over 4,400 ancient human brains, defying this biological certainty? How is it possible that some of these organs, thousands of years later, were found still soft, still pliable, and in some cases, still wet to the touch? This isn't just an anomaly. It's a direct challenge to everything we thought we knew about the fragility of human tissue. In March 2024, a team of researchers at the University of Oxford dropped an academic bombshell. After years of meticulous, painstaking work, they unveiled the largest global archive of preserved human brains ever compiled. This wasn't a new discovery of a single site, but a colossal synthesis of over 2 centuries of disparate, often forgotten archaeological finds. We're not talking about a few isolated oddities. The archive documents more than 4,000 individual cases, a number that continues to grow as more records are unearthed. These astonishing finds span the globe, originating from every inhabited continent, from the frozen soils of the Arctic to the arid sands of the Sahara. The documented discoveries stretch back through time, with the oldest records in the archive dating to the 1600s, a time when science was just beginning to grapple with the mysteries of human anatomy. But the brains themselves are far, far older. The most ancient specimens date back a staggering 12,000 years to the very dawn of the Holocene epoch, offering a direct physical link to our Stone Age ancestors. Among this incredible collection, one specimen stands out as a showstopper, a 1,000-year-old brain, unearthed from a churchyard in Ypres, Belgium. It belonged to an individual buried in the 11th or 12th century. Miraculously, its complex architecture remains. The folds of the cerebral cortex, the gyri and sulci that house the very essence of thought and consciousness, are perfectly intact. Even after a millennium in the earth, it's still moist, retaining a startling degree of its original consistency. And it's stained a deep orange-brown, a crucial clue left by the very chemical reactions that may have saved it, the telltale signature of iron oxides from the surrounding environment. Perhaps the most baffling fact is this. In over 1,300 of the cases documented in the archive, the brain was the only soft tissue left. Skin, muscle, and all the internal organs, the heart, the lungs, the liver, had long since vanished, decayed back into the earth until only the skeleton remained, cradling a perfectly preserved brain. This completely flips the script on decomposition. The most fragile organ, the one that should have been the first to go, was instead the last one standing. So, what is the secret to the brain's unexpected resilience? The answer, scientists believe, lies in a unique combination of chemistry and environment. It starts with the brain's intrinsic composition. Unlike other organs, it has a roughly 1-to-1 ratio of proteins to lipids or fats. This specific balance creates a chemical environment ripe for a rare form of preservation. One leading theory involves a process of molecular cross-linking, kicked off by the presence of certain metal ions in the burial environment. Elements like iron or copper, leaching from soil, water, or even metal artifacts buried with the body, can act as powerful catalysts. These metal ions encourage the brain's proteins and fats to fuse together, forming large, stable, and durable polymer-like complexes. This process effectively locks the brain's structure in place, making it highly resistant to the enzymatic decay that would normally dissolve it. Think of it as nature's accidental embalming. It's not a conscious act of preservation, but a fortuitous chemical reaction between the body and its grave. This process is similar to tanning leather, turning a soft, perishable material into something tough and long-lasting. But chemistry is only half the story. The environment plays a critical role. Many of these brains were found in conditions that halt decay in its tracks. Some were rapidly desiccated, dried out in arid deserts where the lack of water instantly stops microbial action. Others were found frozen solid in the high Arctic or alpine glaciers, locked in a state of suspended animation by the intense cold. Many were discovered in the oxygen-starved, acidic conditions of waterlogged environments like peat bogs, which are famous for their remarkable preservation of soft tissue. And of course, some were part of bodies that were naturally mummified in dry caves or tombs, where constant low humidity and stable temperatures protected them from the agents of decay. This incredible diversity of preservation contexts, from shipwrecks at the bottom of the sea to forgotten crypts, suggests that the brain's unique chemistry can team up with a wide range of local conditions to outlast everything else. There isn't one single method of preservation, but a whole spectrum of possibilities. Dr. Alexandra Morton Hayward, the forensic scientist who led this groundbreaking archival work, brings a unique perspective. As a former undertaker, she witnessed the rapid decomposition of the brain firsthand. She put it simply, in modern forensics, the brain is expected to liquefy incredibly fast. So, to find thousands of examples where it persists for millennia is a profound shock to the system. As one neuropathology expert commented, central nervous system tissue is notoriously fragile and autolyzes almost immediately. The existence of this archive isn't just remarkable, it's extraordinary, forcing a complete re-evaluation of taphonomy, the study of what happens to an organism after it dies. And here is where the story transitions from a historical curiosity to a frontier of future science. The most wild opportunity lies in what we haven't yet done. Of the more than 4,400 brains in this archive, less than 1% have ever been subjected to modern analysis for ancient biomolecules. They are, for the most part, a vast, untapped library of biological information. With modern techniques like proteomics and lipidomics, we can now probe the very building blocks of these ancient tissues. We can analyze the preserved proteins and fats to understand the health, diet, and even the neurological state of individuals who lived thousands of years ago. We can trace the evolutionary history of pathogens. Did ancient Romans carry the same viruses that affect us today? Can we find the molecular footprints of diseases like meningitis or encephalitis in a brain from the Iron Age? And perhaps most tantalizingly, we can ask whether the brain diseases that haunt our modern world have shadowed humanity for millennia. Could we find the telltale protein plaques of Alzheimer's or the neural markers of Parkinson's in people who lived in medieval towns or even Ice Age hunting camps? This archive offers a chance to create a deep-time perspective on human health and disease. But this incredible potential comes with profound responsibilities. These are not just specimens, they are human remains. The work requires navigating a complex ethical landscape, involving consent, the rights of descendant communities, and questions of repatriation. Every sample taken is a destructive act, a piece of the irreplaceable record lost forever. Therefore, a global consensus on ethical guidelines and standardized, minimally destructive analytical methods is paramount before this research can truly begin. The ultimate takeaway is this: these 4,400 brains are more than just survivors. They are storytellers. They are rewriting the fundamental rules of death, decay, and preservation. They prove that under the right, rare circumstances, the most delicate part of us can become the most enduring. This archive is not an endpoint. It is the starting point of a new chapter in understanding our own history, written in the very tissue of thought itself. And the work to read that history is just getting started. For centuries, we have viewed the Amazon as the world's last great wilderness, a realm of unparalleled biodiversity, but a green desert for human civilization. The prevailing wisdom painted a picture of small, nomadic tribes living lightly on the land, swallowed by a jungle too powerful, too inhospitable for large-scale societies to ever take root. It was a story of nature's absolute dominion. But that story, as it turns out, was missing a chapter, a very long one. Using a revolutionary technology that allows us to see the world in a new light, archaeologists have pierced through that veil of green. With pulses of laser light, they have uncovered something that, according to the old story, simply shouldn't exist. The ghost of a massive, sophisticated urban civilization that thrived in the heart of the Amazon 2.5 millennia ago. This wasn't just a forgotten village or a ceremonial outpost. What they found was a sprawling network of cities, a testament to a society that didn't just survive in the Amazon, they mastered it. They found a city where no city was ever supposed to be. In January 2024, the scientific journal published the stunning results of a multi-year investigation. The world was formally introduced to a lost world. A comprehensive LiDAR survey, conducted over the remote Upano River Valley in eastern Ecuador, peeled back the jungle like the page of a book. For decades, archaeologists had found fragments here, pottery, a few mounds, but the sheer density of the forest made it impossible to grasp the true scale of what lay hidden. The data revealed not one, but over 15 interconnected settlements, with evidence suggesting the entire 300 square kilometer survey area was modified by human hands. Radiocarbon dating places the civilization's origins to around 500 BC, flourishing for over 1,000 years. These were not random scattered villages that grew organically. This was a planned, integrated urban network. A society that is older than many of the most famous Amazonian cultures by more than 1,000 years, forcing us to completely reevaluate the history of the entire continent. The discovery pushes back the known timeline for complex societies in the Amazon, suggesting a rich history of urbanism that we are only just beginning to comprehend. So how did they find it? How do you map a city that has been buried under a rainforest for centuries? The answer lies in a technology that acts as a kind of archaeological X-ray. Here's how it worked. It's called LiDAR, an acronym for light detection and ranging. From a plane or drone flying overhead, the LiDAR unit fires millions, sometimes billions, of laser pulses toward the ground every second. It's like a shower of light, blanketing the landscape. Most of these pulses reflect off the first thing they hit, the dense upper canopy of the rainforest. But a crucial fraction find their way through the gaps between leaves and branches, reaching the true ground surface below before bouncing back. The system precisely times the return journey of every single echo. Sophisticated software then filters this massive data set, digitally stripping away the vegetation by ignoring the first returns from the canopy and focusing only on the last returns from the forest floor. The result is a breathtakingly detailed 3D map of the bare earth, as if the entire jungle had been momentarily erased. And when the digital canopy vanished from the Upano Valley, a spiderweb of human intention appeared. The most striking features were the roads, wide, straight causeways, some stretching for 10, even 20 kilometers, connecting the entire region. These weren't simple footpaths, they were major infrastructural projects, linking distinct neighborhoods and satellite towns into a cohesive whole. These roads often converged on large, open plazas, the clear social and political hearts of the settlements. And surrounding these plazas and lining the roads were the buildings, or rather, their foundations. More than 6,000 rectangular earthen platforms, meticulously constructed from packed soil. Archaeologists believe most of these were residential. Groups of platforms arranged around a central courtyard likely housed individual families, forming the basic block of society. But others were clearly different. larger, monumental platforms dominating the central plazas were almost certainly reserved for civic and ceremonial purposes. The stages for rituals, politics, and community gatherings. Some platforms may have served as communal storage facilities, critical for managing the agricultural surplus that a society of this scale would depend upon. Together, this complex arrangement of public and private space points to a highly organized system of governance capable of marshaling labor and resources on a grand scale. To truly appreciate their achievement, you have to understand the environment. This is the Upano Valley, on the eastern flank of the Andes in Ecuador. It's a landscape defined by active volcanoes, which provide rich mineral soil, but also pose a constant threat of eruption and ashfall. It's a place of incredibly dense, fast-growing rainforest, where any clearing is reclaimed by the jungle in a matter of months. And it's a region of relentless, torrential rain. This constant deluge makes conventional agriculture a monumental challenge. Growing enough food to support a city here seems, at first glance, brutally hard. Contrary to popular belief, most tropical soil is not deep and fertile. It is thin and poor. The constant, heavy rains leach the soil, washing away vital nutrients before plants can absorb them. The rainforest's secret is a closed loop. The ecosystem hoards what little nutrition there is, locking it up in the living biomass of the trees and the thin layer of decaying matter on the forest floor. Yet these ancient builders engineered abundance. The LiDAR data shows vast areas of agricultural landscaping, including raised fields built up to lift crops above the waterlogged ground. They dug extensive networks of drainage canals to manage the relentless rainfall, turning a liability into an asset. And crucially, excavations have revealed dark, fertile soils surrounding the settlements. This is likely a form of terra preta, or Amazonian dark earth, a man-made soil enriched over centuries with charcoal, compost, and other organic waste, creating pockets of enduring fertility. To grasp the scale of this achievement, think of the organized urbanism of the classic Maya, with their own causeways and monumental architecture. But the Upano people were building their cities centuries earlier, and they were doing it in a place many archaeologists had long dismissed as incapable of hosting large sedentary populations at all. The evidence for a powerful, centralized authority is written into the landscape itself. The carefully planned grids, the terraced hillsides for farming, the standardized sizes of the residential platforms, and especially the long, straight causeways that ignore natural contours. All of this suggests a society with a shared blueprint, a unified vision, and the central planning needed to execute it. This was a civilization rivaling its contemporaries around the world. While these cities were flourishing, so too were the classical towns of the Mediterranean, and the first great urban hubs of Mesoamerica were taking shape. The Upano people were part of that global story of burgeoning urbanism. For the archaeologists who have dedicated their lives to this region, it is a moment of profound vindication and wonder. Decades of painstaking work on the ground, finding isolated clues, has finally coalesced into a coherent picture. What was once dismissed as insignificant is now understood as the footprint of a major civilization. Every mound, every shard of pottery has found its context within a vast, interconnected world. The data confirms what indigenous traditions have long suggested, that the Amazon was not an empty wilderness, but a peopled, managed, and profoundly historical landscape. This wasn't a scattered people living at the mercy of the jungle. It was a complex, populous, and powerful society that was actively shaping its landscape on a monumental scale and on purpose. And to be clear about the timeline, yes, this civilization predates the famous Inca Empire by nearly 2,000 years. It predates the Aztec of Mexico by almost as much, and it was already ancient by the time of the classic Maya collapse. The Upano cities were hitting their stride roughly 2,500 years ago, at the same time that Pericles was building the Parthenon in Athens, and centuries before the Roman Republic would grow to dominate the Mediterranean. They thrived for a millennium, and then, for reasons we don't yet fully understand, perhaps volcanic activity, perhaps social upheaval, the cities were abandoned, and the forest began its slow, inexorable work of reclaiming everything. So when I look at those incredible LiDAR maps, those ghostly lines, those pulsing nodes, and those glowing grids laid out across the valley floor, I don't just see ruins. I see design. I see mathematics. I see a shared cosmology written in earth and soil. I see neighbors, families, and a society connected by roads and ritual. I see a civilization that did not bow to the Amazon, but instead entered into a complex dialogue with it. A civilization that solved the Amazon, and then, for reasons lost to time, let the forest close the book on their world. For 1,500 years, that book has remained sealed. Now we are finally, carefully beginning to read it.
In the heart of London's financial district, the daily rhythm of modern commerce plays out. Phones ring, keyboards clatter, and deadlines are met in sleek, glass-walled skyscrapers. For the office workers inside, the world is one of spreadsheets and conference calls. They had no idea, as they went about their day, that they were standing on top of a secret 2 millennia old. Just a few meters beneath their feet, buried in the dense London clay, lay the foundations of one of the largest and most significant Roman buildings ever discovered in Britain. The location is 85 Grace Church Street, a prestigious address within the City of London's historic square mile. Today, it's a bustling thoroughfare, a conduit for red buses and black cabs. But if we could peel back the asphalt and the centuries of accumulated earth, we would find ourselves on a major artery of a very different city, the Roman provincial capital of Londinium. It was here, during a routine redevelopment project, that the modern city gave up one of its most profound secrets. As construction crews began their work, they soon hit something unexpected, something solid. Archaeologists from MoLA, the Museum of London Archaeology, were called to the site. What they began to uncover was not just a minor remnant, but a series of truly massive Roman foundations. The scale was staggering. These weren't the footings of a simple villa or shop. They were colossal, monumental. The materials themselves told a story of immense effort and resources. The foundations were a carefully engineered composite of flint, a hard, durable stone gathered from the surrounding chalk hills. Kentish ragstone, a tough limestone laboriously quarried and transported up the Thames, and robust Roman tile fired in local kilns. This was construction designed to last for eternity. The sheer dimensions were breathtaking. Some of these foundation walls were over 10 meters long and plunged an astonishing 4 meters deep into the ground. This level of engineering was necessary to support a superstructure of immense weight and height. The archaeologists quickly realized they were looking at a public building of the highest order. What they had found was Londinium's basilica. Now, when we hear the word basilica today, we often think of a grand church, but we must set that idea aside. In the Roman world, a basilica had no religious function. It was the civic heart of the city, a magnificent, multi-purpose town hall. This particular one was constructed around 78 to 84 CE, during the Flavian era, a period of ambitious construction across the empire under emperors like Vespasian. It was the administrative, legal, and commercial nerve center of Londinium. Let's reconstruct it from the ground up. Picture a vast rectangular hall, a truly cavernous space. Based on the foundations, archaeologists estimate its footprint was roughly 40 to 44 meters long by 20 to 23 meters wide. To put that in perspective, its length was nearly that of an Olympic swimming pool. This was a building designed to impress and to accommodate huge numbers of people. Inside, the space was divided by colonnades into 3 long aisles. The grand central aisle, known as the nave, was the widest and most dramatic. It rose to the height of 2 stories, allowing for a row of high windows called a clerestory. This ingenious architectural feature allowed daylight to pour down into the very heart of the building, illuminating the space below in shafts of light. The lower flanking aisles would have been darker, creating a dramatic contrast and offering more intimate spaces for conversation and business. Standing at an estimated 2.5 stories tall, the basilica would have been one of the most imposing structures in the entire province of Britannia. It physically dominated the Forum, the open-air public square that it stood beside. While the Forum was the city's open-air meeting place, the basilica was its grand indoor counterpart, a symbol of the power, wealth, and permanence of Rome itself, transplanted to the foggy banks of the Thames. Let's step inside this magnificent hall nearly 2,000 years ago. The air is filled with a low hum of activity, the sound of hundreds of voices echoing off the high ceilings and stone floors. At one end of the hall, on a raised platform known as the tribunal, the city's magistrates would sit, presiding over legal cases. Here, disputes over property were settled, criminals were tried, and the full weight of Roman law was handed down. This was the Supreme Court of Londinium, but it wasn't just a courthouse. The side aisles were a hive of commercial activity. Merchants from across the empire struck deals here, their voices a mix of Latin, Brythonic, and Greek. Contracts were drawn up on wax tablets, sealed with personalized rings. Money changers clinked coins from Gaul, Spain, and Rome itself. This was the city's stock exchange, its chamber of commerce, and its trading floor all rolled into one. And in the great central nave, civic life unfolded. A herald would stand to announce new imperial decrees sent from Rome, his voice echoing off the stone and tile. Public announcements, tax declarations, and military levies were all proclaimed here. It was the place you went to hear the news, to understand your duties as a citizen, and to feel the direct presence of the state. If you wanted to understand the pulse of Roman Britain, this was the room where it happened. The sheer scale and sophistication of this building tells us something vital. First-century Londinium wasn't some muddy provincial backwater. It was a strategic and economic powerhouse. The basilica is the ultimate architectural proof of the city's importance. It was a declaration in stone and mortar that this was a major hub of the Roman Empire, commanding the critical crossing point of the Thames, connecting a growing network of roads to the rest of the province and linking Britain to the continental trade routes. This building was the engine of Romanization, projecting Roman law, Roman commerce, and Roman authority across the province. It was the physical embodiment of imperial power. You can think of it as the Speaker's Chamber of Roman Britain, the center of governance and debate, established nearly 2,000 years before the modern Parliament would take shape just a few miles upriver. So if this colossal, vital building was the heart of the city, how did it completely vanish from history? How did it stay hidden for so long? The answer lies in the very nature of London itself. London builds on London. After the Romans departed in the early 5th century, the city fell into a period of decline. The Grand Basilica, stripped of its fine stone and marble, eventually collapsed or was demolished. Over centuries, its ruins were covered by dark earth. Then, life returned. Medieval streets and timber-framed houses were built directly over the Roman footprint, their foundations unknowingly resting on the ancient walls. The Great Fire of 1666 cleared the medieval city, but the rebuilding that followed simply added another layer. Then came the Victorians, who dug deeper than ever before for their vast network of sewers and deep basements, sometimes cutting right through the Roman remains without fully understanding what they were. Finally, the concrete and steel foundations of 20th century offices were piled on top, sealing the basilica in its subterranean tomb. It was there, but it was lost in a complex, three-dimensional jigsaw puzzle of urban geology. Previous excavations in the area had found tantalizing fragments of a large Roman building, but the picture was incomplete. It was only when developers began work to demolish the old building at 85 Gracechurch Street and excavate for a new one that archaeologists were given an unprecedented opportunity. This large-scale project opened up a huge section of the ground, allowing the Mola team to see a much bigger piece of the puzzle. For the first time, the sheer size and orientation of the structure became clear, and this new, massive puzzle piece clicked perfectly into place. And the story doesn't end with its rediscovery. In a remarkable commitment to preserving the city's heritage, you will be able to see it. The developers have worked closely with the archaeologists. Plans are now underway to carefully conserve the remains and incorporate them into a permanent, publicly accessible basement visitor center as part of the new building. This new exhibition will create a window through time. Modern Londoners and visitors from around the world will be able to stand on a viewing platform and look down through nearly 2,000 years of history at the very foundations of the city's first great civic building. It's a direct, physical connection to the London of the Romans, a buried town hall, a forgotten courtroom, a trading floor of an empire, all revealed at last. This discovery fundamentally enriches our understanding of Roman London, confirming its status as a city of immense power and prestige from its earliest days. It's a powerful reminder that the city we see today is just the latest chapter in a long and complex story. History isn't just in museums, it's in the ground beneath us waiting. Under our feet, Londinium still beats.
The Great Eurasian Steppe. A sea of grass stretching from horizon to horizon. For centuries, our story of this place has been a simple one, a powerful myth written into the very landscape. The steppes weren't supposed to have cities. That's the myth. A world defined not by what was built, but by what was not. We imagined endless grass. We pictured horse herders, masters of a mobile world, their lives dictated by the seasons and the needs of their flocks. Their homes were tents, packed up and moved with the herds. Their monuments were not grand temples, but the occasional burial mound, a solitary earthen tomb standing silent vigil over the plains. This was the domain of the nomad, a landscape of constant motion, fundamentally incompatible with the settled, permanent world of the city. But that entire story was shattered, not with a single swing of a pickaxe, but with the quiet hum of modern technology. Using remote sensing techniques like LiDAR and magnetometry, archaeologists peered beneath the grass without digging a single trench. The data revealed something impossible: faint, geometric anomalies, the ghostly outlines of a massive planned settlement. Then, in November 2025, after years of painstaking survey and targeted excavation, they dropped a bombshell. On the banks of the Irtysh River in Kazakhstan, they confirmed the existence of a 346-acre Bronze Age metropolis. Its name? Semyarka, the City of Seven Ravines. Picture this: an urban footprint the size of hundreds of football fields, sprawling across the landscape nearly 4,000 years ago. This wasn't a temporary camp. This was a city, with streets carefully laid out in a grid-like pattern, with distinct neighborhoods and public spaces, with houses featuring internal rooms and courtyards, and at its heart, a monumental central building, anchoring the entire urban plan. Cities like this were thought impossible out here. The academic consensus was clear. The harsh environment and the pastoralist economy meant that people were always on the move. They didn't settle long enough, or in large enough numbers, to build the complex, stratified society that gives rise to urban life. Semyarka says otherwise, loudly. But what makes this discovery even more wild is not just that the city existed, but it existed. The secret to its power, and its very reason for being, was forged in fire. They were making tin bronze, not just using it, producing it on an industrial scale. Across the site, the evidence is overwhelming. Excavations have uncovered entire districts dedicated to metallurgy, revealing smelting facilities, the remnants of dozens of pit furnaces, and vast quantities of slag, the glassy byproduct of metal production. This debris is scattered everywhere, a clear sign that this wasn't a small-scale household craft. This was a city built on industry, and that is exceptionally rare for this region in this period. To understand why, you have to understand the complex recipe for tin bronze. First, you need copper, which was available from the mineral-rich Ural or Altai Mountains, hundreds of kilometers away. But the critical ingredient, the one that defined the era, is tin. And the nearest major sources of tin were even further afield, in the mountains of Central Asia. To get both of these materials to one place in sufficient quantities to fuel an entire city, you need more than just a few traders. You need sophisticated networks, you need organized trade routes, perhaps involving caravans of pack animals and barges on the Irtysh River. You need complex logistics and the political and economic power to control them. As one of the lead metallurgists on the project explains, it's very exciting because it's such a rare find to have tin bronze production on this scale. It implies a level of social and economic organization we just didn't think was present on the steppe at this time. So when did this all happen? Through meticulous excavation and analysis of the site's stratigraphy, the distinct layers of occupation built up over time, the team has pieced together a timeline. By radiocarbon dating organic materials like charcoal from furnaces and animal bones from refuse pits found in the city's deepest, oldest layers, they have placed its foundation around 1600 BC. This date is a game changer. It pushes back the timeline for urban complexity on the steppe not by a few years, but by centuries. It fundamentally challenges the long-held idea that civilization, power, and the very concept of the city were exclusive to the great river valleys of the south, in Mesopotamia, Egypt, or the Indus. Semiyarka proves that a different model of urbanism was taking root right here in the heart of Asia. It belongs to a world we are only just beginning to understand, a network of fortified settlements associated with the Sintashta and later Andronovo cultures, proto-urban centers that rewrote the rules of Bronze Age society. And for the first time, we can begin to imagine what life was like for its inhabitants, a population estimated to be in the thousands. The houses, with their multiple rooms, suggest family units living in private spaces. The streets and open plazas point to a communal, public life. Archaeologists are unearthing the tools of daily existence: pottery for storing food and water, grinding stones for processing grain, and animal bones that tell a story of a diet rich in meat from their herds. But crucially, this was supplemented by farming and intensive fishing from the Irtysh River. This wasn't just a factory, it was a home, a place where thousands of people lived, worked, and died. But Semiyarka wasn't just a random cluster of houses and workshops, it was a statement. Encircling the entire 346-acre site are enormous, concentric circular boundary ditches. This is only the fifth such discovery in the entire region, and by far the largest. These features tell us so much. They suggest sophisticated planning on a massive scale. They suggest a need for defense, a clear demarcation between the organized, protected space inside and the wild world outside. And perhaps most importantly, they suggest a powerful sense of shared identity. To dig these ditches and erect these fortifications required a unified community, a centralized authority capable of mobilizing a huge labor force. This was a society with leaders, with a social structure, with a collective vision powerful enough to reshape the very earth. If you map the Bronze Age world with Semiyarka now firmly in place, a new picture begins to emerge. Tin from the south, copper from the north, and finished goods, the high-tech products of their day, flowing out toward the established empires of the Near East and the emerging powers of Europe. In this vast network, Semiyarka sits like a switchboard, a vital node, a center of production, power, and exchange that connected disparate worlds, transforming raw materials from the remote wilderness into the very metal that defined an age. This discovery isn't a footnote to the grand narrative of civilization. It's a rewrite. Archaeology often thrives on confirming the expected, on filling in the details of a story we think we already know. But its true power lies in moments like this. Discoveries like Semiyarka force us to tear up the old maps, to question our most basic assumptions, and to expand our vision of the past. It begs the question, if one such city existed, defying all our expectations. How many more are out there, waiting to be found? How many other centers of innovation and power have we missed? The story of the steppe is no longer just a tale of endless grass and wandering herds. It is now also a story of cities, of industry, and of a complex past hidden in plain sight, waiting for us to look where everyone knew there was nothing to find. On Norway's Senja Island, a place of mythic landscapes and stark northern beauty, time doesn't always move in a straight line. Here, on the second largest island in the country, the past is a constant, brooding presence, etched into the fjords and hidden just beneath the thin layer of soil. For centuries, this land has kept its secrets locked away. But sometimes the earth gives something back. And in one breathtaking moment, 1,000 years collapsed into a single, electrifying discovery. It began not with a grand expedition, but with the quiet hum of a machine and the keen eyes of those who search for whispers of history. The first clue: 2 bronze oval brooches. Their surfaces, greened with the patina of age, still held the ghost of their former glory. These weren't just simple pins. They were statements of identity, heavy with the intricate artistry of the Viking Age. Their discovery was a jolt, a signal that something significant lay buried here. Then a scatter of rib bones, fragile, fragmented, and unmistakably human. The brooches now had a context, a person. The questions began to multiply. Who was this individual? And why were they here, so far from any known settlement? The initial finds were tantalizing, a puzzle missing most of its pieces. And then, the most astonishing piece of all, an 18-foot boat, its wooden form miraculously preserved, holding the remains of a woman. This wasn't just a grave, it was a vessel, a chariot for the dead. The discovery elevated from a simple burial to a profound ritual, a practice reserved for the Viking elite. And nestled by her side, a final poignant detail: her small dog, curled at her feet as if in sleep, a companion for her final journey. The story starts in the summer of 2023. On this remote patch of land, 2 amateur metal detectorists, following their passion for uncovering lost history, got a signal. What they unearthed were those first crucial artifacts, the brooches and the telltale bone fragments. They knew immediately this was no ordinary find and followed protocol, reporting it to the regional authorities. Their responsible actions were the key that unlocked this entire chapter of the past. That initial find triggered a cascade of events, culminating in a full-scale excavation in May of 2025. A team of archaeologists from the Arctic University of Norway descended on the site, transforming the quiet field into a hub of scientific inquiry. What they painstakingly uncovered was a moment frozen in time, dating to the heart of the Viking Age, around 900 to 950 AD. They had found a complete Viking boat burial, a funerary rite of immense cultural significance, an honor reserved for only a select few individuals in each generation. To be buried in a boat was to be marked as a person of power, wealth, and influence. But why a boat? For the Norse people, the sea was everything: a source of food, a highway for trade, a path to conquest. It was life. And so it was also the path in death. In Norse belief, the end of life was not a final destination, but a journey to one of several otherworldly realms, like Valhalla or Folkvanger. A vessel, therefore, isn't just transport for the body, it's a passport for the soul to the afterlife. It ensures the deceased can navigate the treacherous spiritual waters and arrive with their status intact. The boat itself becomes a grave good, the ultimate symbol of a life of consequence. And the dog? Its presence speaks volumes about the bond between humans and animals in the Viking world. Archaeologists confirm that dogs are the animals most frequently found in such graves, far more common than horses or other livestock. They were hunters, guards, and herders, but they were also family. They were seen as loyal companions in life, and crucially, as guides and protectors beyond it. In some sagas, a dog named Garmr guards the entrance to the underworld. Including a dog in the grave may have been a practical measure for the afterlife, a guardian for the journey ahead. This one appears to have been placed with exceptional care, a rare but powerful gesture of affection and respect. It wasn't simply sacrificed and thrown in, it was laid to rest with its owner, a final act of companionship. The woman herself was clearly a person of high standing. While perhaps not a queen in the grandest sense, she was undoubtedly important, a powerful matron with significant authority. In Viking society, the mistress of a large farmstead held the keys to the household, overseeing food production, resources, and, critically, the creation of textiles. Her grave goods tell her story. The beautifully decorated brooches, likely imported from Denmark, were symbols of her wealth and connections. Agricultural tools, including a sickle, signified her control over the land and its harvest, the very foundation of her family's prosperity. A spindle whorl, used for spinning wool into thread, was a direct link to one of the most valuable commodities of the era: textiles. And most impressively, a weaving sword carved from whalebone. This tool, used to beat the weft threads tight on a loom, was both functional and symbolic. Whalebone was a precious material, and the sword itself represented her mastery over the loom, producing the cloth that clothed her family, paid taxes, and was traded as wadmal, a form of currency. These are objects of work, yes, but in the Viking Age, they were also undeniable objects of status, power, and female authority. The boat itself is a masterpiece of local craftsmanship. At about 5.4 meters or 18 feet long, it was likely a coastal rowing craft, a fairing perhaps, perfectly suited for navigating the sheltered waters of the fjords. Its construction is fascinating. It was pegged together with wooden dowels and bound with tough, pliable root fibers, a technique common in northern Norway where iron was scarcer and more expensive than in the south. This wasn't a warship built with thousands of iron rivets. It was a vessel born of the local landscape, using the materials the forest and earth provided. The cold, low-oxygen soils of northern Norway preserved these organic remains remarkably well. Wood, bone, and fiber that would have vanished elsewhere survived for a millennium. This incredible preservation makes the Senja grave the very first Viking boat burial ever found on the island. A landmark discovery, unearthed almost entirely by chance. When we think of Viking ship burials, we often picture the titans of the craft. Oseberg, Gokstad. These were monumental ocean-going vessels, buried with kings and queens in elaborate mounds, filled with unimaginable riches. They were instruments of state power, designed to awe and intimidate. But if you set this modest Senja boat beside those grand ship burials, you begin to see a more nuanced picture of Viking society. It reveals a spectrum of status, not royal spectacle, but regional eminence. This wasn't about the power of a kingdom, but the power of a household, a clan, a community leader on the northern frontier. This discovery profoundly challenges our pop culture stereotypes of Vikings as one-dimensional figures, only raiders, warriors, and kings. It reminds us that the backbone of their society was the farmstead, the family, and the complex web of production and trade that sustained them. Power in this world could look domestic, it could be managerial, it could be artisanal, and it was very often female. Project leader and archaeologist Anya Roth-Niemi suggests this woman held significant status, not just on her own farmstead, but likely across the entire region. Her burial was a major event, a testament to a life of influence that commanded the respect and resources of her community. And incredibly, there may be more to this story. The discovery of another similar oval brooch nearby hints at the tantalizing possibility of a second undisturbed grave. Is it a relative? Another powerful woman from a different generation? The team hopes to investigate further, suggesting this site could be a small, exclusive cemetery for the region's elite. But after all the scientific analysis, what lingers for me isn't just the data or the artifacts. It's the profound intimacy of the scene. This was a person, a woman who lived a full life, who held power, who managed a household, and who was loved and respected by her community. This was her pet, a creature she cared for, who offered companionship in the long, dark northern winters. And this was a promise made by those she left behind, a promise that the bonds of love and loyalty don't simply end at the shoreline of life. In that small boat, packed with such care for the long voyage to the unknown, someone made absolutely sure she didn't have to sail alone. That is the science of archaeology, and that is the profound, timeless humanity it reveals. In the arid coastal plains of Peru, a landscape of stark, sun-scorched desert is sliced by a ribbon of impossible green. This is the Supa Valley, a place where the Pacific fog, known as the Garua, rolls in to kiss the land. This seasonal mist provides just enough moisture for a unique ecosystem of lomas vegetation to tenaciously hold on, creating pockets of life in an otherwise barren world. For millennia, this valley has been a cradle of civilization, a place of profound human ingenuity where ancient people learned to harness the river's flow and the ocean's bounty. And it is here, in this ancient landscape, that our understanding of the past is being rewritten. For decades, one name has been synonymous with this region's deep history: Dr. Ruth Shady. A Peruvian archaeologist of immense dedication, she has devoted her life to uncovering the secrets of the Corral civilization, one of the oldest and most enigmatic societies in the Americas. Her work began in the 1990s, challenging long-held beliefs and revealing the magnificent city of Corral, a sprawling metropolis that rose at the same time as the Great Pyramids of Egypt. But Dr. Shady suspected the capital city wasn't the whole story. The valley, it seems, had more secrets to yield. In July 2025, after years of meticulous survey and excavation, Dr. Shady and her team just unveiled something that flips the script on how cities begin. The process started with remote sensing, using satellite imagery and LiDAR to peer beneath the desert floor, revealing the faint outlines of buried structures. Following these digital ghosts, the team began targeted excavations. It's called Pañico, an ancient city of the Corral civilization, a sister settlement to the great capital. Revealed to the world after being hidden for millennia, its story begins to unfold. Radiocarbon dating of organic materials found in its foundations places the city's origins at about 3,800 years ago. The key to this precise dating lies in fragments of reed bags, or shikras. These were not mere tools, they were ingenious construction devices. Workers would fill these woven bags with stones and use them as foundational fill within the pyramids. Left in place for eternity, the reeds provide a perfect time capsule. But as the dust settled, it was what the archaeologists find that sparked a revolution in our understanding of the past. No weapons. No fortifications, no burn layers indicating conquest or destruction, no battlefield graves, just people, building, trading, and watching the skies. The city of Pañico is a masterpiece of urban planning. It has 18 major structures, monumental ceremonial temples, sunken plazas designed for communal gatherings, and sprawling residential compounds for its populace, all laid out with breathtaking precision. The architecture tells a story of a society deeply connected to its environment and the cosmos. The main pyramids are aligned with celestial bodies, their staircases tracking the movement of the sun and stars, marking solstices and equinoxes. These weren't just buildings, they were clocks, calendars, and sacred stages, allowing a priestly class to anchor the agricultural and ceremonial year to the rhythms of the heavens. To understand the significance of Pañico, we have to adjust our sense of time. It predates the mighty Aztecs, the brilliant Maya of the Classic period, and the vast Inca Empire by centuries, even millennia. This makes Corral one of the 6 pristine cradles of civilization on Earth, a alongside Mesopotamia, Egypt, China, India, and Mesoamerica, a place where complex society emerged independently. And here's the wild part, the part that challenges the very foundation of what we thought we knew about state formation. In almost every other cradle of civilization, the rise of cities and states is inextricably linked to warfare. The usual markers of early state power, defensive walls, caches of spears and clubs, evidence of conquest, simply aren't here. The evidence points not to a society built on coercion and conflict, but on something else entirely. Instead of barracks, I see astronomy platforms. Instead of armories, I see evidence of sophisticated agricultural planning. Instead of trophies of war, I see musical instruments and a wealth of diverse trade goods. This was a society whose power was rooted in knowledge, commerce, and ceremony. Their influence stretched far beyond the valley. This was not an empire built on military might, but a vast economic and cultural network. From the coast, they moved massive quantities of dried fish, a vital source of protein, and high-quality cotton, which they transformed into textiles and essential fishing nets. In return, they received gourds, fruits, and potatoes from inland agricultural communities. But they traded more than just goods. They traded ideas, spreading their architectural styles, religious beliefs, and scientific knowledge across a vast network built on reciprocity, not the logic of empire. This system of mutual benefit, or Aini, as it's known in later Andean cultures, may have had its roots right here. Dr. Shady's team has spent decades painstakingly mapping this unique culture across the entire Soup Valley, from the magnificent capital at Corral, to the fishing center of Aspero on the coast, and now to the secondary center of Penico. In every location, the pattern repeats, a stunning consistency of cooperation over coercion. The society appears to have been governed by a priestly class whose power came from their ability to predict celestial events, manage the complex irrigation systems, and preside over the religious ceremonies that bound the community together. Their authority was based on delivering prosperity and cosmic order, not on the threat of force. One researcher on her team put it simply and profoundly. They built complexity with agreements, not armies. Today, the work at Penico is about more than just discovery, it's about preservation. Dr. Shady's project actively involves local communities, providing employment and fostering a sense of ownership over this incredible heritage. The goal is to develop sustainable tourism that respects the site's fragility while sharing its profound story with the world. Protecting these ruins from the elements and human impact is a constant battle, ensuring that this 3,800-year-old lesson remains for future generations to learn from. Penico is more than just a collection of ancient ruins. It is a lesson, etched in stone and earth, nearly 4,000 years old. It demonstrates that human beings have always had a choice, to build walls or to build bridges, to conquer or to cooperate. The people of the Supi Valley chose a path of peace, and through it, they built a civilization that thrived for over 1,000 years. In our own turbulent times, the silent stones of Penico speak with a powerful, urgent voice, reminding us of a different way to be human, a way we would do well to remember.
Tonight, we've journeyed from the silent abyss of black oceans, where shipwrecks hold their breath, to the sun-baked stone of desert cliffs, where inscriptions whisper forgotten languages. We've seen desert cities materialize from the sand, revealed by lasers from the sky, and watched as the very code of life, ancient DNA, rewrites the family trees of humanity. And here's the wild part. We've only scratched the surface. Literally. This isn't just about finding more of the same. It's about a fundamental revolution in how we see the past. For centuries, archaeology was a discipline of the shovel and the brush, of patient, painstaking work that could take a lifetime. But right now, technology is turning the impossible into the incoming. The age of discovery isn't over. It's accelerating at a breathtaking pace. Take LiDAR, light detection and ranging. It's like giving archaeologists a superpower, From a plane or a drone, billions of laser pulses rain down, piercing through dense jungle canopies that have hidden entire civilizations for centuries. Most pulses hit leaves and branches, but a few find their way to the forest floor. Sophisticated software filters out the noise of the vegetation, and what's left is a stark, stunningly detailed 3D map of the ground itself, revealing the faint outlines of pyramids, causeways, and agricultural terraces. It's digital deforestation, allowing us to walk through a lost city without cutting down a single tree. Then there's what lies beneath our feet. Ground-penetrating radar, or GPR, sends electromagnetic waves into the earth, listening for the echoes that bounce off buried structures. It allows us to map what's under our feet without a shovel, to see the ghost of a Roman villa beneath a farmer's field, or trace the foundations of a Viking longhouse. And the revolution gets even smaller, down to the molecular level. Portable DNA labs, small enough to fit in a backpack, can now read history from a single tooth, a fragment of bone, or even the residue on a pottery shard. We can trace human migration patterns across continents, identify the relationships between individuals in a forgotten grave, and understand the evolution of diseases that plagued our ancestors. Drones and tiny, agile robots are our new scouts, venturing into tombs and tunnels too dangerous or delicate for humans, sending back high-definition images from places no one has seen in millennia. And then there's the ultimate pattern finder, artificial intelligence. AI is the tireless research assistant that never sleeps. It's learning to spot the subtle differences in the curve of a pottery shard, connecting a piece found in one country to a style from 1,000 miles away. It can analyze the unique signature of tool marks on stone, linking a master craftsman to dozens of different sites. But its most profound impact might be in prediction. By analyzing topography, water sources, known trade routes, and the locations of previous finds, AI can generate heat maps of probability, highlighting the areas where the next great discovery might be hiding. It's not replacing the archaeologist, it's augmenting their intuition, focusing their efforts, and pointing them toward the X that marks the spot. This technological toolkit is creating a new golden age of exploration. So, with these new powers, where do we look next? What are the great white whales of archaeology? The wish list is long, and it keeps me up at night. We start in Jordan, at the rose-red city of Petra. We see its magnificent facades carved into the cliffside, but many of these are just the antechambers. Behind them lie sealed tombs, untouched for 2,000 years. What treasures? What inscriptions? What secrets of the Nabatean kingdom are waiting just a few feet beyond that stone? Then we turn to Egypt and the enduring mystery of its final queen. The search for Cleopatra's long-lost burial site continues to captivate us. Is she with her lover, Mark Antony, in a forgotten temple complex near Alexandria, now submerged beneath the waters of the Nile Delta? Finding her tomb wouldn't just be about gold, it would be about finding the final resting place of a figure who stood at the nexus of three great cultures, Egyptian, Greek, and Roman. And what about the tomb of Genghis Khan? The founder of the largest contiguous empire in history was buried in a secret location, and legend says that all who knew its whereabouts were executed to protect it. For 800 years, it has remained hidden somewhere on the vast windswept steppes of Mongolia. Finding it would be one of the greatest archaeological achievements of all time. But perhaps the biggest mystery is one we're only just beginning to comprehend. In the Amazon, a place long thought to be a pristine wilderness, LiDAR is revealing a staggering truth. Vast, interconnected grids of ancient urbanism. We're seeing roads, plazas, canals, and whole neighborhoods, all masked by a seemingly impenetrable curtain of green. These weren't small, isolated tribes. They were complex societies that engineered their landscape on a massive scale. We don't even know their names yet. But as we stand on the brink of these incredible discoveries, we face a profound and urgent crisis. Climate change is a double-edged trowel. In some places, it's an accidental accomplice to discovery. Melting ice in the Alps and Scandinavia is releasing perfectly preserved textiles, leather shoes, and wooden tools from ancient mountain passes, organic artifacts that would have rotted away anywhere else. Receding waters in reservoirs and lakes, brought on by drought, are exposing drowned villages and forgotten temples. But this is a devil's bargain. For every site revealed, countless others are being destroyed. The same permafrost thaw that releases artifacts also causes delicate sites to slump and collapse. The same coastal erosion that uncovers a seaside settlement can wash it into the sea in the next storm. Wildfires are scorching landscapes, cracking ancient stones, and burning away the very context archaeologists need to understand a site. Add to this the relentless threats of illegal looting, people tearing history from the ground to sell on the black market, and rapid urban development paving over our heritage, and the clock is deafeningly loud. We are in a desperate race against time, a race to document and understand these places before they are erased forever. This isn't just about losing old things. It's about losing entire chapters of the human story. But here's the hope. In this race, we have more allies than ever before. The future of archaeology doesn't just belong to the professionals. It belongs to everyone. This is the era of citizen science. From their own homes, thousands of volunteers are becoming digital explorers, scanning high-resolution satellite tiles of remote landscapes. They're trained to spot the subtle crop marks, soil discolorations, or geometric shapes that can indicate a buried structure. A farmer in Kansas can discover a Roman fort in Britain. A student in Tokyo can pinpoint a potential tomb in Peru. These platforms have already led to thousands of new discoveries, putting more eyes on the planet than any single institution ever could. And it's not just from the sky. Recreational divers are logging the coordinates of submerged anomalies they spot on their sonar. Hikers are using their phones to photograph and report unusual stone formations. Students are helping to train machine learning models from their laptops, teaching AI how to recognize artifacts. The message is clear. You don't need a fedora and a bullwhip to be an explorer anymore. You just need curiosity, access to good data, and a deep respect for the past. This democratization of discovery is our greatest asset in the fight to save our shared history. So, what might the next decade actually reveal? The possibilities are staggering. We could finally find the Rosetta Stone for a language we can't yet read, giving a written name and a voice to a mysterious culture we only know through its silent ruins. We could uncover definitive proof of transoceanic contact happening centuries, or even millennia earlier than we currently believe, forcing us to redraw the maps of the ancient world. But for me, the most exciting discoveries might not be the grandest. They might be the most human. With our new tools, we can move beyond the stories of kings and queens to hear the everyday voices of the past. We can read the shopping lists, the personal letters, the jokes carved as graffiti on a barracks wall, the heartfelt prayers etched onto a small amulet. These are the finds that collapse time, that bring the ancient world close enough to feel its texture, to recognize ourselves in the people who lived so long ago. And yes, there's always the chance for that one headline we all remember, the one that makes the world stop for a day, where a legend finally becomes a location on a map. The story is being written right now. 2025 isn't over. New papers, filled with groundbreaking data, drop every single week. A storm shifts the sands of a desert and reveals the corner of a building unseen for 1,000 years. A farmer's plow hits something hard, and that something changes the story of a nation. Discovery is not a singular event. It is a constant, unfolding process. And this brings us to our most important task. It's a dual challenge that defines our generation. First, we must protect what we haven't even found yet. This means advocating for the preservation of wilderness areas and cultural landscapes, fighting against looting, and ensuring that development happens responsibly and respectfully. We have to save these sites before we even know they're there. And second, we must help find what we can still save. We must support the researchers, the institutions, and the citizen scientists on the front lines. We must embrace these new technologies and lend our own eyes and our own passion to the search. So I'll ask you, which of these great mysteries do you think falls next? Will it be the tomb of Cleopatra? The discovery of a lost Amazonian capital? Or will it be something else entirely? Something so unexpected it's not even on our radar? If this journey into the future of our past fired you up, then like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share this with someone you think could be a future archaeologist. Because the past is calling. It's in the earth beneath our feet and in the stars we use to navigate. It's encoded in our DNA and written on the landscape. And the future of its discovery, the great work of understanding who we were, and therefore who we are, starts right now, with you.